Okay, and I think we are on. Hopefully. Hopefully. Goody. I'll give it a minute or two, but other than that, we're gonna start. Right. So for today, I have a presentation. Let me just send a screenshot. And I want to talk about formulas, but we're gonna give it a couple of minutes. So let me just. And that's all we basically need. If you're in the chat, go ahead and say hi. Right, I need my notes as I am very old-fashioned, so I have my notes on a piece of paper. I actually have the whole thing set up, so good. So I'm going to start with a presentation. So why I wanted to do today's live is because yesterday I actually joined the live of another photographer, and he has this super energy. He's like full of energy, and he says all these, you know, fuck and shit and everything on Instagram live, and I cannot no longer do Instagram live because I have been banned from Instagram live. Surprise, surprise. But right, so, and he had this amazing energy, but there were just a few things that were being said in there, and I'm thinking, you know, so many people agree with that, and there's so many people that disagree. So, for example, on topics like AI, which is, I think it's very good to talk about it, and of course about formulas. So we're gonna get to the formula in a moment, and I wanted to talk. About the formulas. This will be able to be rewatched later, but overall I want to talk about formulas, and does it affect anyone or does it not affect anyone? It's very interesting. There's just so many people there, as many photographers as there are ideas on how to take pictures. And I think what Johnny talked about yesterday was very interesting. It's like, oh, and the commercial. Let me just 1 sec. Good. I have to skip the commercials. Okay. So, my front page, but we're gonna start with couple of things. Before I talk about formulas, I want to talk about just the one technical thing that everybody seems to be forgetting and what to do, and their backgrounds. And that's very important to talk about backgrounds, because I see people buying them all the time. I think it will be good to do another video on backgrounds alone, but backgrounds are very important in photography. More or less. I mean, of course we can edit the backgrounds and so on and so forth, but I used to, when I was on TikTok, I used to follow some photographers, one especially who was very, well, he thought very highly of himself. But what I have noticed was his backgrounds. He buys these backgrounds online, cheap backgrounds, and they usually come folded, and they're like cloth. And there's nothing wrong with a cloth background, but I'm gonna talk about it in a moment. But what it is, this. I'm so sorry. I forget that my microphone is standing right in front of me. So. Backgrounds come usually, unless you buying them from Gravity Drops, then usually they come folded. It's a piece of cloth. I have some of them. One is painted and the other one is just cheap stuff, and I'm going to show it to you why I use the cheap stuff and why I would not use cheap stuff as a background, but I have it as background, but I have it as a background on the floor just to kind of dim the light so it doesn't bounce off. But I'm gonna explain to you in a moment. So quality backdrops and cheap backdrops, the difference is that quality usually comes in matte, and the cheap ones, it's a polyester piece of fabric, and they you know, you buy them from Temu. I also purchased one from Temu. I wanted to check the quality because one time I bought one from Wish, I think it was, and I was super impressed by the quality of it. So I'm thinking, okay, let's try that from Temu. I was very disappointed. Very disappointed. And I have those two backgrounds here on in my presentation, and I'm going to show it to you, so don't worry about it. But so quality versus cheap. There's absolutely no sponsorship here in the video, so there are a few things that you can do. Buy from quality gravity backdrops. That's one. There's one more in the UK that you can buy. I think gravity backdrops, I think they're in US and they ship worldwide. They're a little bit expensive, but they are absolutely worth it. So 3 things. 2 is I recently discovered them yesterday, and I think if I will be able to find them somewhere in my follows, I'm going to tell you what they are. Addictive backdrops. Okay, addictive backdrops, and they're hand painted, and this is very important. Yeah. Oh, it's Jamie. Hello. And so hand painted backdrops, addictive backdrops in the UK. And Johnny Creative follows them as well. So when I'm in England in a couple of months, I'm gonna try to see if I can transport them. But they usually, the quality backdrops, they come in rolls because they are not being folded, and the cheap ones, they come in plastic packages from Wish or Temu, and I'm gonna show it to you in a moment. I am very good, very good. Okay. The other thing is DI background. So you can use DI backgrounds. You can make them yourself. So it can be piece of paper that is, for example, folded. So I have I have 2 screens. I will be looking here, you know, straight ahead, or I'll be looking here. So the picture on the pink one, because I don't know how you see it exactly. So the picture on the left, I would suppose, the small picture, that's a red background. I have it, I got it for free from somebody from the internet, and for a long time I didn't know how to use it. I used it maybe 3 times in my life. And now I figure out how to use it because, so I used for like a, some sort of, there was not a Christmas, but it was Valentine's Day, I think, photo shoot with an actress, and then I used it for myself once to create self-portrait, and then this one, and I thought the red is overpowering everything, but now I figured out how to use it, how to incorporate that so it's not going to be overpowering. It's hideously warm because it's very hot outside, and I have the windows closed because it's the noise from the outside is just unbelievable from the cars and everything else. Okay, DI background. So this is what you have to remember. This is the best thing to do. I don't have the space right now yet, but I'm planning on doing so. I just need a few days somewhere outside alone, that the background can actually, dry. So you buy a special background paint. It cannot be, it shouldn't be like what you use in for your walls, because they tend to flake off. So it does have to be a special paint that under movement of a fabric, it doesn't flake off, it doesn't peel off. But the one thing is that when you buy a cloth, it has to be either linen or 100% cotton, and you cannot wash, you cannot, that's the golden rule, you cannot wash your cloth. You have to buy straight from the producer, and then use it as it is, as it came raw. Otherwise you're gonna have, you know, see-through. It's exactly like that. Good. This is also recording, so it's going to be automatically placed later in. It's just going to stay on the YouTube channel. We're on YouTube, right? We're on YouTube. Okay. So that's the important thing. And then background overlays. So you download them from the internet. You can either purchase them, or you can download them for free. But keep in mind that if you download them for free and your photograph is larger size than the background, then it's not going to work. They have to match the size-wise, otherwise you won't be able to overlay that background over the larger picture. So the larger picture will always overpower the other one, so you won't be able to see the other one. I don't know if that makes sense. It does make sense when I explain to you in my head, but I don't know if it makes sense for you. But that would be also maybe something that I can show one time in Photoshop. So that's a little bit on backgrounds. And why I wanted to touch the background thing is because I see all the time people buying backgrounds and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to be so this creative, and I'm going to, you know, use these formulas, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And then later, you know, they take that background from that foil, they won't press it, they won't steam it, and they're just like putting it there and then model in front of it, and then you can see those lines where it was, you know, folded. And trust me, those lines are not there on purpose. They're just to ship it to you, that cheap piece of cloth you just purchased from Temu. Yeah, basically that's it. It has no purpose there. So please take care of your freaking background. I use paper. Yeah, both these pictures, I mean, I also have cloth, but both these images were shot on paper, and both on red background, because I already used everything like what I wanted to use. My two gray backgrounds, storm gray and fashion gray, which is very versatile, and you actually don't need a white background unless you really need to have it white. You can use gray background, turn into white, and then turn into black. So then you basically need just the white gray background, so one background, and then the other colors. So that's what I wanted to do on backgrounds. But yeah, formulas. Now we're gonna start talking about formulas. Are formulas helpful? Okay, so I have a photographer. She's one of my favorites, and she's super inspiring, and I used to work as a model, and she's a fashion photographer. So Lindsay Adler and her husband, Chris Knight, they're both, they both work together because they are together, but they have two different styles. She's very feminine, and he has more, you know, guy-like style. You can even see it in their photos, that they're, even though he also photographs women and men alike, but his photos are a little bit more masculine than hers. But they all use pretty much the same formula when they work. So are formulas helpful? So what is a formula? So formula is basically when you have your camera, you have your subject, you have your background, and let's say you have 4 different strobes, yeah? So I have 4 strobes, and then I have continuous light, and then it's also a Godox, and then I also have ring light, and I have natural light in my studio. So to everything there is a formula. Now whether you want to follow the formula or not. So I'm gonna tell you pros and cons, and then you decide whether you want to follow the formula or not. But so formula is basically, you have your subject, you have your, let's say we only work with one light. We're working with one light. You have your subject, and then you have Lindsay. And Lindsay is taking a photo, and she's telling you exactly how she took the photo. Yeah? So I have three photos right here that they're mine. I took them of myself, and I used one strobe. I had overhead speed light with a small modifier. I think it was small magnum modifier, and it was just basically flashing on me. I cannot remember if I had anything else on it or not, like a grid. I don't think I had a grid on, but I just had a small modifier, small light flashing from the above. So if you ask me about formula, I would say I have no idea, I don't remember. So formula basically is, what was my camera settings? What was my, so basically ISO versus other things, like, let's not even go there because I think we all know how we are shooting. Ish. F-stop and ISO, and what was my light as well, like what was the intensity of the light, I don't remember. ISO, I don't remember. My shutter speed, I don't remember. And the how far is the position of the light from the subject, I don't remember. So that's basically the formula. So when you do remember these things, you can write them down. I never write them down. Now, Lindsay and Chris, they write them all down, and they sell them. Let's say they make money off of them, they sell them. But here's the thing. We all kind of take photos, and then we tether them to something. So either it's going to be Capture One, or it's going to be Lightroom. I don't think anyone ever tethers to Photoshop. I mainly work with Photoshop because I don't really need Lightroom unless I'm doing a wedding, but that's another story. So the photos that I have done here, I'm looking to on two different screens. So the photos I have right in here, right in front of me, or you have right in front of you. They were also done with some sort of formula, which I cannot tell you. I cannot sell it to you or give it to you for free because I simply don't remember. But here's the thing. Formula works, but there is also some kind of like when you take a raw image and when you take the JPEG file in the end. You're finished with it, and you've done your work, and then you convert to JPEG file. That's fine, but what have you done in between? And how is that formula actually translate to your raw file work? How does it translate? It actually doesn't. It gives you formula can give you a general idea. I used to follow Lindsay actually for the formulas. That was way back when, but I quickly found this to be a waste of my time. And this is not anti-advertising for Miss Adler, absolutely not, or Chris Knight, but it's like break the rules. Yeah, we all learn from breaking the rules completely, and then we go and then we edit in Photoshop. And it's like, okay, how is that formula actually translate to the final image? It really doesn't translate to the final image, because you will decide whether you want to have, your ISO at 100 or 200, or you want it to be, 3,500. Do you want a grainy or do you not want a grainy? Do you actually want to use a speed light? Okay, so we're gonna use a speed light. You're gonna use the strobe. Okay. Where are you going to position? Does it work for you? Does it work for your space? I mean, there are so many things that are that can go not wrong, but sideways. So for me personally, a formula is waste of time. And if somebody says, okay, so you shot it at, what was your aperture? What was your ISO? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Go do it yourself. Figure this shit out. Because I don't want you to copy me. I want you to create your own version of that. Because we all kind of have these, our own versions of what we do. Now, there's a story that I heard today as I was brushing up a little bit on the newest technology. Actually, this wasn't in photography, about two golfers. And the story about two golfers is that one would be obsessed with golfing. I used to golf when I lived in the United States, when I lived in Hastings, so it was quite all right, quite fun. In Hastings, in United Kingdom, not United States. United Kingdom, and they have an amazing golf course in there in Hastings. So why golfing? Why the story is because golfing can be very technical, and it is very technical, but it's like it doesn't matter. There was a guy. You're a Nikon guy. Very much Nikon. Yeah, pretty much. No. So one guy was obsessed. The story I heard today. One guy was obsessed with golfing. And he had the magazines, the newsletters, and he would memorize everything before he would golfing. The stick he would use, and he would just like approximately calculate, his distance to the hole, and he's like, okay, so, and he would just stand there, and before he would hit that ball, he would just like think about it, and like, okay, he would just get that technicality in his head, and he was a terrible golfer. And so this is it. I think formula, and the other one was like, I'm just here for fun, yeah, and he was actually better doing it because he was doing it for fun. I mean, I do it for business as well, but because we're so fixating on these formulas, that it's like a formula is a collection of information that does not necessarily translate to creating. And then, photography is kind of like telling a story. Whether you do Lumix, definitely Nikon here. So we are overloaded with information. So it's not actually creating, it's like FOMO. So we all know that we are not supposed to, eat junk food, but we all kind of, eat the junk food and then overload ourselves with those Belgian fries. And it's the same like with consuming a lot of information. And then we consume so much information that it kills our creativity, I think. And like we overthink, yeah, but I haven't gotten the same results as, I followed that formula, but I haven't gotten the same results. Yeah, and this is where we are going to the next point. So it's Photoshop, Lightroom, or CO, Capture One, versus formula. So we have that formula, yeah? We take that formula from another photographer, and he or she tells us exactly, the speed. Like these three images that you see, they were very gently. There was also a filter on my to create like an additional effect, right on my lens. Very cheap filter I purchased. It's somewhere from the internet. It wasn't Temu, but it was somewhere from the internet. Oh yeah, I have it actually written in my notes, but because I left TikTok, I should do a video on f-stop and ISO. I left TikTok, and I'm super happy that I'm not coming back. The level of professionalism there is non-existing. So unlikely will I ever come back as I used to be. But for now, this is not my focus. But yeah, I do remember when we talked about it. We talked about it one time, and I think I will do a video on f-stop and ISO, definitely. But yeah, So these 3 images that you see right in front of you, there are already 3 from the series, and they are done, and they are converted from raw file to JPEG. And there was not that much actually that I have done in this one. I kind of nailed it in the way that I wanted to have it, but maybe I added just a little bit more contrast because I wanted to a little bit more illumination. Yeah, so I think I edited, okay, and the sparkles, and I edited the sparkles. So basically with the sparkles was, my sparkles weren't as visible. I actually glued them myself. The story behind the 3 images is a little bit sad. So I wanted to do these I created the 3 images for a girl who didn't feel like she could be here among us anymore, and she left us at the age of 16. So, and I knew her personally from the moment she was 4 years old. From about when she was 4 years old. And so I did it as a tribute to her. And so the sparkles resembled all the young people that struggle with mental health and so, but it didn't work for me. Actually, they kind of sort of disappeared in the fabric with the lights and everything. So that's where I edited them in a little bit more in Photoshop. So I basically copied them and pasted them into the fabric. So that's the most I think I've done in terms of Photoshop in this one. And so again, we have formula. So when you look at all the photographers, those that actually do use Photoshop and Lightroom and Capture One, the more high-ended photographers that take, like I like to say, take their work a little bit more seriously and don't do it for just shits and giggles, then you will see that it's the formula disappears, because you will get that base form that does not translate to your final finished image. So this is what people struggle with understanding. They think that when they find that formula, so the model looks exactly the same, the skin is retouched, the contrast is there as well. No, when you have a raw file, it's basically exactly as your eye can see, and now you have to translate it into the image that you want to have. And that brings us to the final retouch and final image. I think this is what I just basically said. Yeah, a lot of people don't know how it works. Thank you. I hope I'm good. The way I like to explain things is when I went to school, when I studied photography, and in between I did modeling. And when I heard how photographers and assistants talk to each other, they spoke in a language that only they would understand, but I didn't understand. And I was at the time studying photography, but I was studying as a development process, as the first process. Like, we literally had a topic and would say, okay, abstract in nature. Okay, abstract in nature. How do I translate abstract in nature? So for us, it was more like figuring out, what do we do? And I knew nothing about technicality. I knew nothing about light, and that you're not supposed to take photos. Or for example, if you have to take photos between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., how do you bend the light to that? How do you make the light work for you, not that you work for the light? So in order to understand that, people just like giving me a lot of information. I was like, okay, this is too much. This is just too much. So I need to break it down into like to a 5-year-old, because I think it's easier for people to understand. It's easier for me. This is how I was learning DaVinci, for example, DaVinci Resolve. It's like, simplify it for me, please, because I learn better the way that because this is all, film editing is just not my thing. It's just a whole new thing, and people talk about it as if I already knew, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting up. I need to learn like a 5-year-old. So that's how I figure out I need to explain to people. And I had seminars here in my home studio with some students, and I would also give them my camera and first explain how things work, and then like, okay, now you have my camera, now take a picture and just play around with it, yeah, and just play around with the settings so you can actually see how it works in practice. So these formulas, I think for the most part, formulas translate into perfection. And so perfection is, I think it's an excuse. When I, again, started, I wanted to be already, on my first 2 years, I wanted to be like this big shot photographer. And because I was already modeling, it's like, okay, now I need to be this big shot photographer. I have the contacts, I have the means. So I went on and bought the gear, and it wasn't at the time Godox. It was something so much more cheaper and so much more budget friendly. But at the same time, it was just like screaming desperation. But I wanted to have it. I needed to have it. I needed somebody to come into my studio and say, "Oh wow, you're a big shot," and the information that you get from trying to be a big shot, so this need for perfection, oh my god. And then I realized that I am so failing at this. Like, I am totally failing at the formulas, the results, the perfection that I just get. It's like I got so, it's like I'm thinking, okay, I give up. I can't do this. I don't get the same results. But this is it. There are many people online that I see, that I follow, and we follow some of the same photographers. So our source of inspiration is, for the most maybe the same, but they are copying to the point of Photoshop later, retouching an image. So you're like, okay, I know you're not Lindsay, I know you're Greg, let's say, but it screams Lindsay wannabe, yeah. So this is something I think it should be avoided, because you're not creating your own. Nobody's going to. This is how people would think if they know a photographer, that they will associate you with her. Would I go to her or to you for the final image? If I would want to have my portrait taken, I would go to her, not to you, because you're copying her exactly. So. Fail as many times as you want, but find your own style, because this is actually that sells, your own style. So people will be remembering you instead of remembering that you're somebody. I'm so sorry. Somebody wannabe. That mic is so big. I'll show you. That mic is so big. And I gesticulate, and it's like, okay. And I hit it with my hands. Okay. AI. Do we want to touch that topic? Okay. I think at some point eventually we will. Okay. So we're going to come to before and after images, and I think this is very important when we talk about formula. So we have to talk about before and after images. Now, you can see how these two images are completely different. And I can also tell you the image right here. Let me just see. Can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can see my mouse. Right, this one, that's the cheap stuff. And you can see that it has these lines, which are, by the way, if you're not fluent in Photoshop, there will be a little bit difficult to work with, and Photoshop is getting better right now, but it has gone much better. But there's still some things that they will not help you with if you're not more proficient with it. So in order to avoid the shadows and have a nice clean background, this is a lot of work, like a lot of work. So I would say, don't be sloppy. Don't be, head over yourself and like head over heels over for yourself. And just don't be sloppy. Prepare and do your background good. Yeah. But you can see these two images. So we have the raw file on the left side, and then we have the final image on the right side. Why is it so important to show? Because again, how is one with a formula translating to the other? It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. So this collection of information and formulas and everything, when I shoot it, it's killing our creativity, I think. It's an overkill. It's like, you know, trying to figure out YouTube, trying to figure out Instagram, and trying to figure out, you know, what works. I think we're caught up in this perfectionism. Like, if I'm gonna post so many times, I'm gonna get so many views, and then like I'm not getting any views, and I'm not getting any subscribers, and I'm, you know, people don't see my work. Do it. Don't. Not always the formula works for you, or it doesn't always work. Period. In general, yeah. So that's one thing. Yeah, the quote downstairs is, photography is a visual problem solving to create something interesting out of something ordinary. So again, I have more examples here, and where I'm going to show you before and after. But this with the background, I chose it purposely because I knew I had it on my floor. Because of what I wanted to do, this cheap shit, that's from Temu. And this cheap shit behind me, that's hand painted, that's from Wish. So you can see how different they both are. And again, how is formula translating? If somebody would say, oh my God, we'll look at the final image. Oh my God, like what did you do? What did you use? Well, I used the longer shutter speed, definitely, because I wanted to get a little bit blur on my hands, and the photos are on my Instagram anyways, but I wanted to use a little bit more blur, but the image itself was a little bit too bright, so I needed that to be dark and moody and a little bit, I don't know, scary or something. So that's how it translated. Yeah, so that's how formula translates in the end. Pretty much doesn't. Yeah. So we go to the next. Again, before and after image. How does anything translate to anything? Ah, I can see my abs here. I'm so proud of my abs. So, red paint right on the side. This was a little bit more, the image on the right was a little bit more than the image on the left. I cropped it just to show you that I had my paint. I was sitting literally on my table. I had bandages right over here. They were cheap bandages that I bought them online. Seriously, bandages in Denmark cost like what, $10 per roll or something. They are hideously expensive. So those ones, I bought some cheap from Frugo, I think they came from Germany. They are a European supplier, but they also ship some things from China. But if I would ever want to return, get my money back, so I'm buying it from Europe. Bandages right over here, a few of them, and then yeah, in my underwear, and then paint in case I need to add more paint. The color is not the same, so again, formula, no clue, no idea. I use the natural light, and I have to stress on one thing: I am not a natural light photographer. I don't like to consider myself, I don't like to think about myself as a natural light photographer. The reason I use natural light is because it's a quick setup for me when I have to do, you know, work and create, and this is like, okay, I don't need to figure anything out. And another reason is that I'm right now in a search of 5-meter shutter release cable, at least 5-meter, because my receiver and the transmitter don't work with Speedlight, which is my remote control. They only operate on lights, so I need something to add that additional cable to longer cable. I have a shutter release cable, but it's only, I think, 1 meter, and if I would want to focus on my entire silhouette, then it's a little bit, you know, too much of a stretch with my hand. It's impossible to do it if, for example, I don't have an assistant at that time in the day. And I usually don't, because, you know, if something pops into my head, I just, you know, move things around and I start working on my photos. So here I sat down on the table again in my living room, and took a fake heart that I bought online from a Halloween shop, and put a lot of paint, red paint that I bought at Sustanegrene, which is like a arts and crafts store, and other things in between. Super fun. Painted a little bit myself. Painted the chest over here as well, and then the raw image doesn't translate to the initially I thought maybe I would just bandage my entire face, but I needed to check images, so I wanted to have my eyes open, but I always knew that my head doesn't have to be so visible, my eyes don't have to be visible. My head, I didn't want it to have it visible, I just wanted to have something a little bit creepy. So yeah, one doesn't really translate to the other. So that's another one why you should maybe consider that formula, to consider to throw that formula out the window or flush it down the toilet. And then another one will be coming. Yeah. So my unpublished photograph. Right. It's almost the same image on the right as it is on the left. Almost the same. What do I mean? Is that yeah, the legs were replaced with something else, I think. I took basically few images of myself on the ladder first. The grave stone was taking. I took a picture of the gravestone in Roskilde, so it's another town from about 20 minutes from Copenhagen. I remember at the time I took a train. I went there. First I went to my masseuse, and my masseuse, yeah, amazing lady. And then when I was done with her, I went to a graveyard right by a train station, and I just took a lot of pictures of a lot of graveyards, and then I tried to figure out how to combine them. So this picture will probably be posted around Halloween time. This is, yeah, my ghost. And so then later I try to figure out how to combine myself. So it's almost the same photograph. You can see the legs a little bit different. Maybe the arm is a little bit different, but I also used a feature in Photoshop that I kind of bent myself a little bit. If I did that, I would probably break my back. So I just kind of bent myself a little bit. There was another photograph that I also used, and I used the head, you know, body different, head different, hair different. I kind of put myself together like a puzzle. But in the end, I felt like this one was working better. And I think the legs as well. At some point, I just kind of had the legs a little bit more far out, and I think I replaced the legs here too. So I think so. I can't remember, but I did put some things together in Photoshop. So again, how would a formula translate in here into this image? It wouldn't. The background photograph is a preset. Preset. That I also needed to do some twists and tweaks with using both Lightroom and a Photoshop. So I needed to figure out how it's going to translate into the final image. And there are some few things in here that, you know, they're completely different. So I wanted to use this one as an extreme, because if somebody will be saying, so how did you, obviously everybody knows that I put the image together in Photoshop, but how does it translate into a formula? It absolutely doesn't. So again, find your creativity and throw the formula out the window. Because even if you're doing a fashion shoot or a portrait shoot, you know, play around with it. I actually don't work so much with a light meter. I don't know why. I've never actually, have I even owned a light meter? it's been in the back of my head, but I should, like, 15, 20 years. So it's like, no, I really, I don't, I haven't even, yeah. I think by now I know approximately my settings, and if I need to get them. But the funny thing is, the light meter will get you exact the exposure that you need. And sometimes you need it overexposed or underexposed, and you still are going to tweak your image in Photoshop or Lightroom, whatever you use and whatever rocks your boat. So that's quite an extreme example right in here. And this one. So I shot this one on my. I do wanna show these images, before and after. So let me just put it this way. Okay, I think this is important. This one as well. The lighting was a little bit terrible. I mean, the light was fine. The light was actually, pleasant because it was cloudy, so the light was very soft outside. And so my assistant took the photos of me. I told him how to do it, and I like how I want to do it, but he also worked a little bit around. Whereas I was lying there in the dirt and smelling the seaweed, which was absolutely disgusting. And this is where I created my birdie. You can see, hold on one sec, where's my mouse? I don't know if you can see. Right over here, I didn't touch the bird, I didn't move the bird, but right over here something happened. OBS disconnected, reconnecting. Okay, I hope we're still streaming anyways. So, right, so I have my image right in here, is on the right hand side, and this is me. This is me laying down. But how, what was I shooting at? I don't remember. I would have to check it on my, I would have to check it in my raw files exactly what was the formula. But again, the formula did not translate into the final image because for me it was too bright. And I wanted to have it a little bit darker and moody. So I created an image that it's in the evening, kind of, sort of, the sun is setting, almost peeking through. The clouds, that's total AI. That's not something that we have, that was in here. That's a complete AI, and that's fine as well. And as I'm lying here, of course, this image is a little bit crooked, so I had to even it out. And it's darker, it's moody, and so formula right in here, what my shutter speed and f-stop and ISO, it really doesn't matter, because what I'm creating here is something that I've had already in my head, so formula doesn't really matter. Yeah, and every photographer's process will be different. So this is a bigger picture now. You can see all the feathers of the poor birdie here and also here. And the birdie was somewhere on this side, poor fella. Yeah, so as I write, make your images based on how you feel in the moment and whether it is positive or negative emotion. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. If you're like me, a little bit, weird and twisted, I think you'll just take it as it is. And some people think, well, you've done your pink series. That's a little, a little sexy and a little, still a little bit darker, but because I still don't show my face, but it's a little bit sexy and a little provocative. But they say, there's still a little bit sorrow and things like that. So how is those, and then the images that I create, how they're so different but yet a little bit the same, but yet a little bit like, how is this one versus one of my pink series? I don't know. It's like, I have an idea and I'm thinking, okay, I will just execute the idea, because it sits in my head. And I think what I try to do, like I try to challenge myself, is the idea of creating the image I have in my head, starting from scratch and seeing how close, I can come to that idea. Right. Okay, and I think we're almost at the end somewhere. Right. So this is what I would throw the formulas out the window. Like if somebody will tell me, take your formula, follow the formula, I would just take it like the piece of paper, I would crumble it, set it on fire, and I would do my own, because I think in the end it's very important that you do want to take it as create your own image. So I would suggest challenge yourself and emotions. For example, there is a great photographer. Her name is Brooke Shaden. I think she's from US, and she does a lot of, and I wrote it here, fear and trauma. So her story behind her, the story behind her is that she always wanted to have a child. So she is a host mom. She cannot have her own children, so she does sometimes project that sadness into her images, but she works so much with Photoshop. But take love if you want to, take happiness if you want to, and then of course fear and trauma. For me, fear and trauma go hand in hand with love and happiness, because those are the emotions that we go through every day. So why shouldn't we use them and then project them? There's just so many these washed out happy images, but I think in the end you want to be recognized for your work. So your style does not translate necessarily to the formula. And then figure out your muses. Like what is your muse? It doesn't have to be her or him, but what is your muse, and what is giving you inspiration and the energy and that aha moment for you just to keep doing that. For me, it's the idea, like I bought a skull. I named him Timmy. That's not my ex. Don't worry. It's completely fake. It's from resin. And just a few days ago, I'm thinking, I have an idea. I'm going camping. It's probably not going to come in time, but I live right by the beach, so I can always recreate the image. Thinking, you know what? You need a skull. So I bought human size skull, plastic, online, and I'm waiting for it to come. Maybe it will come. Who knows? So I saw pictures that it's sitting on a regular chair, that it's taller than me. So that would be nice. And because I have an idea, it's like, okay, so now I'm gonna put the skull into to work for me, let's say, yeah? And what these ideas come from, I don't know. And so here are my wide range of photographs. Okay, there's one particular image that I want to talk about. And again, they're all done images. This is not raw. They're not raw, they're already processed images. So again, how does formula translate, for example, to the first one? It doesn't, because there are overlays, and there are butterflies that I photographed, fake butterflies made of cloth, that I photographed hand by hand in different positions, and I placed them, and I placed smoke. I didn't buy my Ulanzi at the time yet, so I placed the smoke as a preset, and then of course in Photoshop I erased some things, and I added a little bit color because it was just white, and so I added a little bit grayish blue color to it. Then there are some sparkles right in here. Those were already there, and I thought they work actually fine. I added hair to my hair. And the dresses, okay, I added the backgrounds, like it's a preset splash of paint that I also added. And over here, okay, the mask is basically, I took a mask of my own face. So this is my own face on my own face, yeah. But the image, again, in order to create that skin that resembles a dead person's skin, I had to play around and figure out how it's going to be. Now, the demon, of course, I mean, if you saw the demon picture, raw image, it looks nothing like this. It's much brighter, and and I'm sitting on this gray background and doesn't say anything in there. And originally I also had this as a gray picture itself, but then I found an overlay that background overlay that I used it, and I think it worked fine. Now the pink series, okay, this is done on gray background, on a red, like a bitchin' red background. My hair wasn't exactly as it is, so I fixed the hair. My skin is not so alabaster, so I fixed that. We got these spots, these black markings from sun exposure. I actually don't. I'm lucky not to have so many. I avoid the sun like a vampire, but they're still there. So I had to, in my head, it's like, okay, I'm going to remove them. It was done with a natural light, actually, and so the formulas are not translating to the final image. The next one, as well, hair extension a little bit in Photoshop, just a little bit, because my hair was a little bit shorter than it is now, so I needed to have just a little bit of strings flying. That was my idea. Again, the age, not aging, but like kind of getting towards this decomposing skin, gray. I had to figure out how to do it in Photoshop. So also that doesn't translate into a formula. The big one that people seem to think that it has some sort of periods in there, that it's not even close. This one was inspired by. This one I actually had to figure out how to take a picture that I can see myself, and how to position the camera and how to stand. And it was, oh my god, I got so frustrated, and I'm like, and I was again alone without my assistant. So I finally figured out, and I also had to figure out an angle for both the mirror, the camera, and the myself, is because I could see the ceiling, I could see my lamp, I could see things. So it's like, okay, this is not gonna work. How do people do it? So again, I had to figure it out. If somebody would give me a formula for this one, I was like, look, it doesn't work because my ceilings are lower, my ceilings are higher, so it's like, those formulas, throw them out the window. And this is not a menstrual picture, as people seem to think. This was inspired by Japanese culture. The blood actually that is on the mirror, it's not a menstrual blood, and was never intended to be that way. It's associated with women. With the women, I needed to somehow show the women in Japan and their struggle with men coming from underneath and taking their pictures. Yeah, so this was my idea of struggle. Yeah, and people are like, oh no, not this again, not the menstrual again. Oh my god, that's disgusting. Yeah, but it's absolutely nothing. It has nothing to do with the period. It's like, fuck the period. It was inspired by Japanese culture, and I've seen a lot of pictures, like women taking underwear and taking pictures from like underwear down. But this was a more like men kind of stripping them of their privacy, because there is a problem there in Japan. Overall, I'm very much in love with Japanese culture, but there are some things that are a little bit disturbing, like in every culture, I would say, right? So that image was it. Oh, I think we have a commercial coming. Yeah. One sec. Okay, so we're back in music. And again, this one we already have seen it. Translate nothing to the formula that I could give anyone. And of course this one, I'm just reviewing footage. And these two basically are done the same day, same way. Again, translates nothing to the formula. Yeah, like somebody would say, oh my god, you have that little bit of pink over here, how did you do it, how did you do it in, you know, Photoshop? A lot of these things are so accidental that I cannot even tell you. It was just done in Photoshop without the use of Photoshop, but with the use of Photoshop. And it's only desaturation, contrast, yeah, a little bit illumination, and I don't even remember what it was. I have my notes in here, so I can probably tell you. Yeah, so I usually work with contrast, exposure, highlights, shadows, whites and blacks. Temperature, always. I always take temperature down. At least -5 on all my pictures. Don't know why, but I love to take the temperature down. Saturation, I always desaturate my photos. Temperature, clarity, sometimes on clarity if I just don't want to edit so much, but I want to have the alabaster skin. At this point it was yeah, down on reds and oranges and yellows, a little bit in sharpening, and then pretty much that's it. That's the entire formula. But everybody needs to figure out what works for them, so don't follow my formula, just follow somebody else. I mean, follow your own, because it needs to work for you. And we have come to the end of the presentation. Right, so this photograph, I don't know how much you can actually see in here, but just go on my Instagram page and you will see a little bit that fog. The fog is pink and gray. The fog is actually white. The fog is actually white, but because I was shooting it on beige and red background, so I started desaturating everything, but I didn't focus on desaturating the fog. The fog was not added in post-production. The fog is from Juls, and as I was sitting here, let me show you, as I was sitting here, my hand, right, this one, was holding a remote control for Juls, and I was just sitting there and just getting that fog up and running. And the pink and the gray color came so accidental, just like on the image that I can maybe probably show you. I have to go a little bit up because it's, yeah, I'm gonna get banned, just like on this image. This image has, I haven't figured out how to get that color, keep it white and keep it red in Photoshop. Like, it was just nothing more than desaturating colors. Yeah, basically. So as you can see, the background over here is gray, but the background was actually red. So as the background got desaturated, it still got mixed up with the smoke, and I thought, this is great, like, I'm gonna keep it. It was all completely accidental. So when people tell you about formulas and how to do is fuck it, throw it away, do it yourself, don't, you know, learn the basics, but then twist the basics. Like, you don't need to know everything just to recreate that image. You recreate, you take your own image, you do your own image. And a couple of things that I also stopped doing is like really like beautifully editing hair, like for example from the top over here. I could have taken it a little bit, but I've decided, I don't know if I can go, no, but I've decided it's okay. It doesn't disturb me, so it's okay. So I think that's about it. So we went through the entire presentation on formulas. Right. On formulas. So this is what I would suggest. Fuck the formulas and do it your own way. This is going to be automatically posted on YouTube now, so if there's something you've missed, you can rewatch. I actually don't see, I only see a chat, but I have turned off statistics, so I have no idea how many people are here. But I'm super glad that whoever came, and I'll put something together for next time. I already have an idea that it's ISO, f-stop, how it works, and how it translates into photography. So yeah, see you next time, and I'm gonna put a presentation for you, and check out my stories. I'm very, very active. Yeah, on social media, on Instagram. I am very active on Instagram. This is my main media. So write me, and follow me, and I will write you back as well on when we're going to be live and what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, thanks again